Hello, and welcome back to the Animal Communicator and Healer Summit. This is the place for aspiring and established animal communicators and healers to connect with animals, to connect with their abilities, and to connect with each other. I'm your host, Dr. Kara Gubbins, founder of the Animal Wisdom Circle and creator of How to Talk to Your Pet, the proven 4-step system that teaches anyone and everyone how to communicate intuitively with their pets or with any animals. And joining us today from San Antonio, Texas is Val Hart, and we're going to be talking about learning to communicate with animals. And this is great for you guys if you're just getting started on this journey. Val has tons of great information. Val Hart is called the real Dr. Doolittle, and she's a leading animal communication expert and animal communicator to the stars. She's the founder of the Heart System for solving problems with animals and learnhowtotalktoanimals.com. She's also a best-selling co-author. Val has been a featured expert on ABC, NBC, Fox News, as well as People Magazine, My San Antonio, and Great Day San Antonio television shows. She is the founder of the Heart School of Animal Communication and hosts the online Animal Talk Coaching and Mastery Club. And of course, you can find her online at learnhowtotalktoanimals.com. Welcome, Val.
Hey, Kara, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for all your hard work. You are appreciated hosting all of this.
Oh, thank you. It means a lot because I know you do a lot of these things too. So you know behind the scenes of all of it. So thank you. I'm really excited to talk to you about this topic today because I think animal lovers kind of naturally want to be animal communicators. I think it's just kind of like we just want to get closer, and we see like that's a way that we can get closer with our animals.
It's true. You know, and the way to know your animal is to learn how to speak their language. You know, how can you know anyone if you can't communicate? It's, you know, we have to be able to communicate. You know, and I find our animals do their very best to communicate with us. And often they'll tell me they feel so sad for humans because humans are so dense. How could we not receive their messages? They've been broadcasting them loud and clear. What's wrong with us?
Why are we so slow?
We're so slow. Yeah,
I love it.
exactly. So,
Well, let's start our conversation with your story. How did you become an animal communicator?
that's a great story. How much time do we have? You know, I was a lonely only child growing up outside of Austin, Texas, and the rural country, and there weren't any other kids my age, human kids, but we had lots of animals, and the animals, you know, being a highly sensitive, empathic child, the animals and we got each other. We could communicate, you know, and they helped me survive some very difficult years. I was manically depressed and even suicidal as a teenager, learning how to use my highly sensitive, empathic soul and beingness, you know, how to survive a world that didn't really support that, you know. So I grew up, obviously, I made it to the ripe old age if I am now. You know, back in '92, I started playing with the idea that animals were sentient and very intelligent and feeling creatures, and that they could, in fact, communicate. So I started exploring with that. And at the time, we had 2 cats. My husband, now ex-husband, and I had 2 cats. He was a professional opera tenor, and he had a lot of money invested in a sound system, so you know, music and sound was really important to him. Anyway, they were using his big Bose speakers as scratching posts, and both cats were in danger of losing their life, if not their home. Right? It was bad. And so one morning I woke up and I was doing my morning meditation, and I downloaded, you know, I intuited something to do that was a little different. And it was, instead of tuning inward into my own, you know, process, I should focus toward the animals. And so I did. I focused toward the cats, and I went through it was a similar to neuro-linguistic programming, if you have ever heard of that. So I focused toward them, and the most amazing things happened. I saw things I knew nothing about. They were not my images. I heard things. I had thoughts. There were feelings. There was this extraordinary pouring out of communication and information. And whoo, I took it all in and I processed it. I finished the meditation and I opened my eyes, and both cats were sitting there glued to me, looking at me like, moing, moing, moing. It was awesome. It was like, wow, what just happened? Kara, after that, they never used my husband's speakers as scratching posts again, ever. That was it. So, it
What do
went
you
on
think
with
they did
that.
in the first place? What do you think changed right there, Val?
Well, they were adding why do I think they did it?
Yeah.
Well, because they were marking their territory. They were putting their scent on his speakers. They were conveniently placed, so why not use them as scratching posts? It made sense to them from their viewpoint, right? But
And then
their
what
viewpoint,
shifted that day?
right? What shifted that day is they came to understand my viewpoint.
Mhm.
The human viewpoint, which was, those aren't scratching posts. Oh my God. Don't do that. Please don't do that. Please use your other scratching posts instead. And they got the message and they shifted. And it's like, okay, why didn't you ask sooner? We would have been happy to comply. But we didn't know. We didn't understand. They didn't get it.
Right.
So yeah. So I went on and I'm playing with this. I'm like, wow, this is so cool, and we solved a bunch of other problems together, and my cats are starting to teach me about communicating. One of them gave me a intensive purr therapy communication that was just amazing. And then a few months later, I'm out with a friend of mine who is a neuromuscular body worker, and she was working for people and for animals. She was working on her mare, Valkyrie, who had this huge hip, the size of my fist, in her hip. I mean, just a huge knot in her hip. And we're hanging out, and at one point I heard Valkyrie say something just as clearly as you can hear my voice. Valkyrie made a comment, and I was like, wow, so I shared that with my mentor teacher and Valkyrie's owner or caretaker. And we started this round robin fabulous conversation with the horse, where I would ask her questions and she would answer, and it was just a lot of fun. And then at one point, my mentor friend and the body worker said, would you ask her what's going on with her hip? And so I said, Valkyrie, what happened to your hip? Kara, it was like she sucked me into her memories, and I re-experienced the event almost like I was her. I knew where she was. I knew I could smell the caliche dirt. I could feel the heat of the day. I saw the three men that were trying to load me in the trailer, and I felt I didn't want to load in the trailer, and I didn't like those men anyway. And, and I felt how angry she got and wound up. And at one point she banged into this metal gate fence. I saw it, I felt it, got it. So I'm translating the story as fast as I can, as it's like drinking from a fire hose a little bit, right? It's like coming really quickly. And by the end of the story, Valkyrie took a big breath and she relaxed, completely let it go. And we watched as that knot in her hip simply dissolved right before our eyes.
Wow. And how long had she had that knot for?
Oh, at least 6 months, because it happened last summer, the summer prior.
Wow.
Right. Cool, right? And I was like, wow, what just happened? So my friend Charlene, the body worker, started taking me around to meet her other clients. And, and I started working with other clients. I met a world-class Grand Prix dressage competitor and trainer, and he was there with his amazing horse. And so she introduced me to this wonderful rider. And as soon as he heard that I could communicate with animals, he grabbed me by my arm and he dragged me across the arena. He was saying, "You have to talk to my horse. You have to talk to my horse." So like, okay, okay. So we get to the stall and this wonderful horse is there and we're in the stall. And this man tells me that this horse is perfect in practice, never takes a misstep. The cues are spot on. You know, he's brilliant at his job. And yet they go into the show arena and the horse misses cues, drops leads, it doesn't perform in the show arena. So he was like, "Help me! I don't know how to fix this," you know. And so I turned to the horse. His name was Occident. And I turned to Oxy and I said, "So what's going on, Oxy?" And he says, "You know what? I am good at my job. I like to perform. I like dressage. I love the applause of the audience, but I am really angry with my person." And he outlined 3 reasons why he was upset. And so I relayed them all. And I said, "Well, what would make this right, Oxy?" And he said, "I want an apology. And I want an agreement from him that he won't ever do that again." And so
Wow.
I told the guy, I told him, and it was a little hot-headed Frenchman. And I got to the point about him apologizing, and he looked at me like, "You want me to apologize to my horse?" And I said, "Well, that's what your horse wants." And he said, "Okay, fine. I'm sorry." Occident turned his butt to us in the stall, switched his tail, and clearly said, "Nope, that is not good enough." No way, no
Not
how.
an apology.
Not an apology. So the guy stormed off and left me there in the stall with this fabulous horse, and we're hanging out. As soon as he left, Oxy turned back and came over to me, and I said, "What do you think I should do?" And he said, "Wait a little bit, he'll be back." So we hung out for about 15 minutes or so, and sure enough, here he comes. And he says, "All right, I'm thinking about it. You're absolutely right on all 3 counts. I did those things. I admit to them. I understand now, and I am truly sorry." And
Wow.
Oxy reached his head out and he touched his nose to the man's chest, and they held each other.
It
And
brings
then
tears to my eyes.
I know. And then they went out and they won their competition.
Oh my gosh.
Right. So the next day, very early in the morning, this man calls me from Houston and he says, "How soon can you get here? I have other horses you need to talk to. Please help. Can you be here tomorrow?" I'm going,
Wow.
well, so that was the start of my professional career.
I was
That's
going to
when
say, I guess you got a new job that day.
yes, I did. And what a job, that was in 93, in early 93. And it's been an extraordinary journey. The animals teach me so many things, and I've learned one of my specialties is solving problems with animals. And I learned that my 5-step heart system is based off what the animals have taught me and what it takes to solve problems, behavior, training, health, whatever it is, as it's, something where you and I are going to talk about a little bit later is the human animal body mind connection. And that's how our animals mirror us. And, we have to include that in our work with them. How are they mirroring you? How are you mirroring them? Right.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. I love that. And that's going to be Val's bonus interview. For those of you who are interested in that, you can, we'll give you more information about how you can watch that interview in a little bit. But coming back to your story and how people can learn how to communicate with animals, I know you've been teaching this for years now. Your story is super inspiring, but also it's like, whoa, it just happened full blown all at once, is what it sounds like, right? But that's not true for everybody. So how do people who don't have that spontaneous combustion kind of thing happen to them, how can they get started with communicating with animals?
I always tell people, it's like, if you love animals, you can communicate with them, and you already are. What you don't know yet consciously is how, and you're not able to guide the conversation yet, right? So one of the first things we have to do is notice how animals communicate with us. How do we receive their messages? How do we give them messages of our own? And it goes so far beyond physical cues, and voice commands and things like that. It's a felt sense. For anyone who's highly sensitive and empathic, which so many of our students are, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's like when we open up and focus on someone else, we can feel them. In fact, I don't know very many people who can't do that. So you see someone across a crowded room, or a shopping mall or something like that, a restaurant or something, and you just look at them. Maybe you don't know them, but you look at them and you have an immediate sense of whether they're angry or grieving or happy or in love, or there are cues, there are signals that we read subconsciously and superconsciously. There are 4 intuitive skills. There's clairaudience, there's clairsentience, claircognizance, and clairvoyance, right? Everyone has these gifts, all of us do. And finding what your primary skill is, your intuitive skill, is really important. So we build from your primary skill. So a lot of people are very visual. They can imagine things in their mind's eye. Kara, are you visual? Do you see it or do you hear it? Or
Definitely.
both? Yeah,
My easiest way to get information is visual.
got it. Yes. And so a quick tip for newbies or people who are learning: communication comes to us in visual impressions, feeling or emotional impressions. A thought is not a complete grammatically correct sentence. A thought could be a concept. It could be blue sky. Think of everything connected with the blue sky, or green grass. The stories go on, but it's bigger than just a word or a sentence. It's a felt sense, an impression, and we start there. With highly sensitive empathic people, often we feel the communication in our own body. And the key, or the trick to that, is separating out what's theirs and what's yours. So we have to do our inner work to sort out and be very familiar with our own inner aspects, our inner emotions, our inner thoughts, how our own inner monkey mind sounds and feels. And we make peace with that and become a neutral witness, observer, and a receiver, so that when an animal sends a message to us, we get it, as opposed to it just getting lost in the morass, or bounced off the static of a too busy mind, and a closed off, shielded heart. So one of the biggest challenges for a new student is to learn how to navigate that. And then after that, it's so easy, it's simple. Then when you get a message from an animal, it's like, oh, my animal just said something, or my animal feels sad today, or my animal feels excited, or or any of a plethora of things. I love that word, plethora. Does that make sense?
That makes total sense. And I know that you have tips for people to get started with this, because I think this is the thing that we see with beginners all the time. It's like, well, I know there's something going on, but I don't know how to pay attention to it, or I don't know how to receive it.
Yes, exactly. Just real quick, Kara, in the Heart School of Animal Communication, we have a free ebook, The Hidden Secrets to Communicating with Pets. It teaches you main fundamental principles of subtle and physical senses and how to activate and use them better. And also the 3 easy steps to send a message to an animal. And that's real important. It's where we start right? So you have a message you want to give an animal, being clear about it, so you see it in your mind's eye, you feel what you would be feeling if it was actually happening, and then you speak the story. So see it, feel it, say it. See it, feel it, say it. That's how you send a message to an animal, and then all you need is their attention. Right, you need their attention, so they're paying attention. And then just be clear of the message you want to give them. After that, the game is to learn how to receive their messages. So the advanced course, the Animal Coaching Club, it's about building accuracy and confidence. Another tip for you today is to remember to meet them where they are. We have to put our own stuff aside for the moment to meet them where they are. I just coached in the coaching club, we had the live Q&A call, and there's a 6-month-old Boston Terrier puppy, and she's pooping in the house. And so I had a conversation with her, and I can't go to an animal that's misbehaving, right? Air quotes, in case you wonder what that was. My attempt at air quotes. But you can't go to the animal and say, "Oh, you bad dog." You can't go there from your viewpoint. You have to meet them where they are. So I said, "Hi, baby, how are you today? And what's this about pooping and stuff? Did you know how your person feels about that?" And we had this wonderful conversation, and at the end of it, I had the opportunity to invite her to poop outside. And we talked about what's in the way of doing that. Well, why don't you want to go outside? Well, because it's dark and I can't see very well. Oh, you can't see very well? Tell me about that, right? So you meet them where they are. You don't come at them from a human-centered viewpoint. Otherwise, they're going to block you off and they don't want to talk to you, right?
Right.
Does that make sense, Kara?
Yeah, and when we're talking to anybody, the more we get stuck in our viewpoint, the more they're going to get stuck in their viewpoint. So I love that you
Yeah.
talk about meeting them where they are as a way to initiate that conversation and shift that perspective to, what can I learn from you? What is it
Yeah.
like to be you? What's going on with you?
Thank you. Exactly right. Well done. Just also remember that this is a spiritual journey. Animals are angels, they're teachers, they're guides, they're healers. We are spiritual beings having human experiences, and animals are spiritual beings having animal experiences. So the way we learn who our animals really are is by speaking their language and taking time to recognize, respect, and revere them for who they truly are. And when we do that, everything changes. We heal, we evolve, we grow. It's a lifelong, brilliant study, because every animal is different. They're all unique. They're all individuals, just like you are.
And I love how your story about Oxy the horse really shows that shift that happened in his person. Like, he
Yes.
went from that, hey, this is somebody who's supposed to do things the right way, to, oh my gosh, you're a being with feelings and what I do impacts you. And really he shifted to a place of respect and honoring in that short amount of time. And kudos to him for making that shift that fast, because he clearly wasn't there at the beginning of the story. But I love that you're bringing forward, like, all of us there, we can all do more. We can all, be more empathic, more understanding, more putting ourselves into somebody else's position.
Yes, exactly. So shift your viewpoint. I know one of the exercises that I teach is the become one with an animal exercise. You probably do that too. But it's, if you could be them, what would you know? If you were wearing their fursuit, right, or in their hooves, or and wearing their feather suit, what would you know from your perspective? How would the world look? How would it feel? What would confuse you? How do you feel in your body? what makes you happy is that animal. What makes you sad, right? So getting out of our own human viewpoint is like the number one most important thing, I think.
Do you think that's the biggest shift that people have to make to go from wanting this to happen to actually having it happen for them?
Hmm. Yes, I think I do, because the students I've coached that were stuck or blocked or limited in some way, they were so in their own human viewpoint, they couldn't let it go to experience life from a different perspective.
Mm.
You know, they just, I don't know, they couldn't be someone else for a little while, you know? So
Yeah.
I think maybe so. What's your experience?
Well, I hadn't thought about it in that way before, but as you're talking about it, I'm like, if you can't shift out of your head and your point of view, you're dead in the water. Like there's nowhere to go from there. If you can't at least be curious about what's going on at the other side of this conversation, then there really is no conversation. So it does feel really important to me to be able to do that.
Yes, I'm so glad you said that. You know, I'm thinking back, the Hidden Secrets ebook teaches you how to send a message to an animal. What's the next step? Get their feedback.
Right.
Answer their questions, answer their concerns. You know, maybe what you're telling them doesn't work for them. Maybe it's confusing. So much of what we humans think and do is so confusing. You know, I mean, even to us, if we think about it.
Yeah.
Um, for
And
any length.
communication is a two-way street, right? Like there cannot be only just a one-way street here. It has to go both ways.
Exactly. Thank you. Well said.
And just, because you've mentioned it, we have a link on this page for everybody to get Val's Hidden Secrets to Communicating with Pets. So don't worry about it. Don't go looking for it. We have it for you right here on the button, and it'll take you right there to get that, because it's so important. Val and I both have this big vision for the world. Val wants to help create 1 million animal communicators, and I want to live in a world with at least 1 million animal communicators. So we want
Yeah,
to be good at this. We want to help you. We want you to succeed.
we do. You know, in the world that I want to live in, Kara, and I hope everyone can resonate with this, it's a world where everyone knows how to communicate with animals, where everyone knows and understands how sentient, how intelligent, how feeling, how extraordinary animals truly are. And the way we do that is by speaking their language. Someday I want people to look back on this time with wonder and maybe a sense of sadness that humans were so cut off that they didn't know how to communicate with animals. I want it to be so commonplace, you know, that everyone knows.
I would love if people would look back and go, wow, 2000, that's where things really started to shift. People started to wake up. They started really connecting with animals. They started remembering how to communicate with animals, and everything shifted from there, because when we live in a world where we can talk to animals, then we go through that same transformation that ACHS person did, right? We see the world differently. We treat everybody differently, and the world becomes a different place.
Yes, a kinder, more compassionate, loving place where we have evolved into our best self, you know, our highest self. Yeah.
Oh, that's a vision I can get behind, Val. Any final words of wisdom or advice you want to share with our viewers today, Val?
Yeah, I think there's probably just one thing, and there's so much more to be said, but pay attention when your animal tries to tell you something. Learn how to speak their language. Take the time, invest the time, right? Invest this part of your life into learning how to speak their language, because you know what? They give you their life. They give you their heart. They give you their love. They try to help you in so many ways. The best you could do is to meet them and learn how to connect and communicate with them. And you can do it. Just take the next step, whatever's next for you, whether it's a beginning course or the free ebook, or an advanced course, or join a coaching club, or get mentoring, right? Get additional training to advance your skills. if you're good enough at this and you love it the way I think you might even want to join us and help change the world, and be a professional animal communicator and make a bigger difference for animals and the people who love them.
Yeah, well said. Very beautiful image, and I think that that's going to really resonate with so many of our viewers, that vision of a world that's different and that we're changing, right? Like we're getting together to make these changes, to have them happen. And Val is one of the pioneers in the field that's really helping that to come to fruition. So let's just talk for a minute, Val. You're going to come back with a bonus interview. We're going to be exploring the human-animal body-mind connection. And that's kind of an extension of what we've talked about here. But for people who want to learn more about you and maybe take that first step with you, do you want to tell them more about the hidden secrets to communicating with pets that they can get right here on this page?
Yes. So the book itself teaches you how to send messages to animals. It's 3 easy steps anyone can do. You can do this. It'll get you started, right? The next step for you would be a beginning course to set your foundation so you can receive messages, which is usually so much harder for people or humans, as we have to get out of our way and learn how to receive and make conscious conscious awareness, right? We have to awaken to the animal communication zone so that we know how to interpret what we're receiving, and then get advanced training and coaching. If you get stuck, ask for help, right?
Yeah.
So, and find a way to practice with a wide variety of animals. It's usually best not to practice with your own in the beginning, just because you're too close to them. It's harder in the beginning, especially. But at some point, you'll be able to communicate with your own animals too. Does that help?
The path, it's so clear.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
And so we do have a button right here on this page to get you started on that path. If you want to get Val's Hidden Secrets to Communicating with Pets, you can do that by clicking on that button. There's also a button on this page for you to purchase an All Access Pass. And the All Access Pass gives you lifetime access to this interview, Val's bonus interview, all of the interviews and bonus interviews with all of the speakers in the summit, as well as the 4 professional roundtable discussions that we're going to be having about becoming a professional animal communicator. So the price goes up when the summit ends. So act now to get the best value. Jump in, join the movement, and help change the world by becoming an animal communicator. Val Hart, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, everyone who loves animals. We love you. We're grateful for you too.
Animal lovers are the best, and that's what this community is. So come on over. Thanks for being part of the community, and come on over to the Facebook group and let us know what insight or aha or awareness or something you're going to do differently because of what Val shared with us today. We'd love to hear about it and hear how this is helping you move forward on your journey to become an animal communicator or healer. And we will look forward to seeing you next time. For now, have a great day. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.